Well, thank you very much, and thank you, Randy. It's a true honor to be here today to receive the endorsement of the proud American patriots at the NRA. These are great patriots. These are great people, and we're going to do things like nobody can believe. We're going to win this election at levels that nobody's ever seen before. But thank you very much for that endorsement. It means a lot to me. You know, when I started off, as you know, in 2016, I got that endorsement early, and I got it. Some people thought they had it made, but we got it. We got it again, and we've lived up to everything, as you know, everything I said. They just were under siege with the guns, the rifles, and everything else. We're under siege, but they didn't move us an inch, and we have to stand strong. You know that? We have to stand very strong. So thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it. The NRA has stood with me from the very beginning, and with your vote, I will stand strong for your rights and liberties. And 4 more years in the White House, we're going to do things like nobody can believe. We're going to turn our country around. We're going to, quite simply, make America great again. But one thing I'll say, and I say it as friends, we've got to get gun owners to vote. Because you know what? I don't know what it is. Perhaps it's a form of rebellion, because you're rebellious people, aren't you? But gun owners don't vote. What is that all about? I've heard that. I heard it a few weeks ago. If the gun owners voted, we would swamp them at levels that nobody's ever seen before. So I think you're a rebellious bunch. But let's be rebellious and vote this time, okay? If you go out and vote, I understand exactly why you don't, but we have to win this election. It's the most important election in the history of our country. You've got to get all your friends, all the gun owners. They have to go and they have to vote. If they vote, there's nobody that can beat us, nobody. So it's very important. And I want to thank the NRA President, Charles Cotton, your first Vice President, Bob Barr, and Interim Executive Vice President, Andrew Arula-Andom, who's a terrific group of people. That's a terrific group of people. We're also grateful to be joined by a very special man. He's a hot politician, very hot. Governor Greg Abbott. Where is he? He's around here someplace. He's around here. Thank you, Greg. You're a hot politician, Greg. You know why he's hot? Because he's doing a good job. That's a good reason, right? Right, Doc Ronnie? Thank you very much, Greg. Appreciate it. Great job. Also, a friend of mine is the chairman of our campaign in Texas, and we're 2-0, and we have lots of people running. And so far, I think we're 51-0 in Texas. I don't know. I like Texas, and they like me. Somehow it works together. But this man is very, very strong, very popular. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Thank you, Dan. Very strong guy, very popular guy. Thank you very much. Great job. How are we doing, Dan? Are we doing okay? We're way up in Texas. We're way up. Thank you very much. And members of Congress here, we have a lot of them, but a few of them I'm going to introduce. We also have senators, and we're going to just introduce a small group because we have to get on about our business, don't we? Huh? Members of Congress. The only man to hit a ball in Washington out of the stadium, he hit a home run, slow pitch. You know, they play the Democrats. And slow pitch meaning about 55 or 60 miles an hour, not that slow, but nobody's ever hit a home run over the fences except this one man, and he was wearing a MAGA hat. So I didn't know him at the time, but I said, who's the guy that hit the home run? This was a couple of years ago. He hit it right over the fences in the deepest part of the park. And that's not an easy thing to do for a civilian. You know, if you're a baseball player, you can do it. If you're a civilian, you're not supposed to be able to do it. But he was wearing that beautiful red MAGA hat. And I said, who is that guy? And his name's Greg Stupi, and he's here today, and he's my friend with his incredible wife. Thank you, Greg Stupi. Where are you, Greg? Where's Greg? What a shot that was. When they wear a hat that says MAGA, that means they're with us all the way. They're with us. Thank you, Greg. Also, a terrific congressman and a friend of yours, very good friend of you and the state and the country, Pat Fallon. Pat. Thank you, Pat. Great, Pat. Great job. Another man, he was the doctor for, I don't think any of you have ever heard of this gentleman, Barack Hussein Obama. Has anyone ever heard of Barack Hussein? No, he was the doctor, very talented doctor too. You know, he's got a lot of things on his resume. He was a great doctor, he was a great admiral, and now he's a great congressman. And before I introduce him, I just want to say, when he was the doctor at the White House, they asked him, who's healthier? Who's a better physical specimen? Is it Trump or is it Obama? And he said, it's not even close. It's Donald Trump, not even close. I said, I love this guy. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, your congressman, great congressman from Texas. Then he had to louse it up. You know what he did? He said, and he'd live for 200 years, except he likes junk food, so he might only live to 110. Can you believe? I do like junk food. Who doesn't? A real good friend of mine, an incredible Republican, conservative, really a person that loves our country more than anything else, happens to solidly reside in the state of Texas, the president of the America First Policy Institute. What she's done is incredible. She has taken the Policy Institute and brought it to a level that nobody thought possible, and fairly quickly, too, I would say. Brooke Rollins. Brooke? Thank you. Thank you, Brooke. She could run any company in America, but I don't want to say that because I don't want her stolen away from me. Texas legislature candidates who have my complete and total endorsement: David Covey, Alan Schoolcraft, where is Alan? Alan Schoolcraft, Helen Kerwin, and Brent Hagenboo. Where are you? Stand up. Oh, there they are. And David is leading very substantially an absolutely terrible Speaker of the House who didn't want to go into voter fraud. He didn't want to do it. And David, raise your hand, David, because David's leading very, very substantially against your Speaker of the House. And I see the recent polls, but still, it's about a week away. They all have my complete and total endorsement. They're phenomenal people, and they're going to do really, really well. And we appreciate you being with us. Thank you, and good luck. In a week from now, good luck. You're going to win big. You're all going to win big. We have to get your speaker out of there so that we can go into voter fraud. Because, you know, even though we win Texas, Dallas and Houston, those areas, a lot of bad things happening, right, Dan? You know, they have a lot of bad things happening, and we got to stop it before it gets out of control, and they will do that. Also, a man, you know, he was operating a piece of equipment, a big hauler, a big truck. He was a truck guy, a real truck guy, not like Biden. You know, Biden says, I drive trucks. I drive trucks. I used to drive an 18-wheeler. He doesn't know what he said. He didn't. No, he always says that. He said, I used to drive an 18-wheeler. When the truckers come in, that's what he says. When the pilots come in, I used to fly a plane. No, it's true. He's misinformation. I was going to say he's full of bullshit, but I don't want to use bad language because there are a lot of young. No, I don't want to. I don't want to do that. Well, I played golf today with a really good golfer, Tony Romo. Do you know Tony Romo? He may be a better golfer than a football player, I don't know. But we played really today. We were talking about the state. We were talking about a lot of things, and we were at a wonderful course very nearby, and we had a tremendous amount of support from the people at that club. I'll tell you, it's amazing. They love this state. They love your governor, your lieutenant governor. They love this country. It's a beautiful thing to see, really beautiful. But, you know, Biden, he said his biggest lie of all, because I'm a nice golfer, is the expression goes. We have another nice golfer here, by the way, Mr. Steve Witkoff and his son Alex. He's a nice golfer. And he's one of the most successful businessmen in the country. He flew in just to spend some time because he's a big believer in the NRA. But Biden, his biggest lie of all, he said he's a 6.2 handicap golfer. This guy couldn't break 200. I really mean it. And he actually challenged me. You know, last week we're going to have debates with him, and that was good. That's good. I think we're going to, you know, he's still looking for that white stuff that was found in the White House. He's saying, where is it? It never arrived. It never arrived. They can't find it. Everyone thought it was for Hunter. Maybe it wasn't for Hunter. I think it was for somebody else. But he said 6.2, you know, so usually a guy's a 6 or 7 or an 8. I played golf for a long time. I won a lot of golf. 31 club championships, can you believe it? And he challenged me to a golf match. He said, I'll give him 3 aside. The guy can't break 200. Here's his swing. I'm very good at imitating swings. It's not just oh, no. Well, you ask Tony Romo about that. He'll tell you about Trump. But no, but that's his biggest lie, 6.2. He's got to be 6.2. You know why? 6.2 is like totally accurate, you know, down 0.2. I never even heard of that before. Who's a 6.2? But this gentleman that is from North Carolina got up and made a speech, and the place said, why aren't you running for office? And he gave it a shot. He ran for lieutenant governor. So he went from a tractor. He was a very good operator right here. It was a forklift, and a good one, a big one, and he had a great job. But he made a speech. I think he was protesting taxes or something in North Carolina, and he took the place by storm. One of the most beautiful, resonant voices you've ever heard. He stood up. I said, I think I'm going to really insult him by saying this. It's possible that I will, and I didn't want to do that. And you know, we're doing well with the black voter. They can't even believe it. They love Trump, and I love them. But I said to this man, and when he endorsed me, he gave a speech, and I said, you are Dr. Martin Luther King on steroids. That's how good you are. You are unbelievable as a speaker. And he got up, and he's doing fantastically well in North Carolina, and I think he's going to be the next governor of North Carolina, Mark Robinson. And a very popular guy. How's it going? Good? The polls are looking good, I hear, yes? You got to hear this guy speak. Anyway, he's going to be speaking at the convention very loudly and beautifully, and we look forward to that. We're going to have a great convention in Milwaukee, and we're not doing one, you know, they're going to do a Zoom convention, I hear, because, you know, they're blaming the pickets, the riots, whatever they might want to blame. The real problem is he doesn't want to get up and speak. He doesn't want to walk. He can't walk from that stair to this podium. He can't put 2 sentences together. Even his challenge on the debate, it took him 7 shots. They have 7 different clips. For more than 150 years, the NRA has been defined by men and women like all of you, loyal, hardworking citizens who believe in defending your families and your communities and our country. RFK Jr., I call him Junior. By the way, he's radical left. Don't think about it. Don't waste your vote. We need a conservative person with common sense. This guy is radical left who destroyed New York. They're taking down all of the energy components. We have the highest, and all of New England, actually. He's a disaster. He's radical left. RFK Jr. is radical left. It reminds me of this fly that's driving me crazy up here. This fly is brutal. I don't like flies. But RFK Jr. calls you a terrorist group. You know, he calls you a terrorist group. can't vote for him. You can't, you know. Somebody said, well, they like his policy on vaccine. The other day, he said, no, he'll go for the vaccine. He's got no policy on anything. He's radical left. He always has been. His family is angry at him because he's doing this. They won't talk to him because they said, where the hell did this come from? And for some reason, he's getting probably a little bit more, hurting Biden a little bit more, but we can't waste any votes. We have to make sure we win. And I'm meeting, I don't know if you read, but I'm meeting next week, very soon, with the Libertarians, because largely they have so much of what we have. You know, they're also people of common sense, generally speaking. They have a couple of things that are a little different, but we have to join with them because they get their 3% every year, no matter who's running. And we have to get that 3% because we can't take a chance on Joe Biden winning. He's the worst president in the history of our country by far. We can't have it. But RFK Jr. says bad things. He calls you a terrorist group, and I call you the backbone of America. That's a big difference, wouldn't you say? But under crooked Joe Biden, everything you stand for is under threat like never before. Our Second Amendment, which is largely why you're here, I mean, that's the biggest statement for you. You know, when I go and make speeches at different places, it's always important, but today, this is the big statement. It's under siege. Second Amendment is under siege. Our Constitution is being run through the shredder. Our borders have been obliterated. Inflation continued to rage, and it's raging right now again. And they shouldn't lower the interest rates because they're going to have to stop it. But he's going to lower it just for purposes of trying to win an election, just like he went into the strategic reserves to try and win an election and let this stuff that's supposed to be used for war and national emergencies to try and keep the gas prices down. And now we have the lowest strategic reserves we've ever had. Our country is going to hell. Rapacious gangs and ruthless criminals are terrorizing our streets, and crooked Joe Biden's weakness has us teetering on the edge of World War III. You know, I've gotten to know the leaders of the world very well. The ones in South America that are sending all of their criminals and their prisoners and their gangs into our country intelligently. I'd do the same thing if I was there. I would do the same. I'd do it faster than them. But they're sending everybody into our country. I mean, think of it. We have these people coming into our country. We don't want them in our country. They're from prison. They're gang members. They're drug dealers. They're rapists. We have people coming into our country. No country can sustain what's happening to us. And they don't check them. They have no idea who they are. It's not just South America. It's all over the world. It's time for a president who will replace weakness with strength, turn poverty to prosperity, and vanquish Joe Biden's corrupt tyranny with a great restoration of American freedom. We have to do that. From the very first day that we take back the White House, I believe we are going to have the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. And it's hard to believe when you look at what's happening right now with the inflation and the bad economy. And one of the greatest, I'll just say Scott, I call him Scott. He's one of the great prognosticators on Wall Street, one of the smartest people on Wall Street. He said the only reason the stock market's doing well is because Trump is leading in all of the polls. If Trump wasn't leading in all of the polls, and if Trump doesn't win, you're going to have a collapse like in 1929. So just remember, he said it, but I said it too. I really believe it. I believe it. That's the only thing that's doing well is the stock market. It's doing well because we're doing well. We had a great stock market. But if it didn't happen, it's going to be a very bad time, I think, for our country. But to achieve the future, you have to march into the voting booth and you have to tell crooked Joe Biden, Joe, you're doing a horrible job. You're a horrible president. Like The Apprentice, Joe, you're fired. Get out of here, Joe. You're fired. And let there be no doubt, the survival of our Second Amendment is very much on the ballot. You know what they want to do. They're going to Oh, if they get in, our country is going to be destroyed in so many ways, but the Second Amendment will be, it's under siege. But with me, they never get anywhere, and we need that Second Amendment for safety, forgetting about even going hunting and all of the things that you do. We need it for safety. Because, you know, the bad guys are not giving up their guns. You know that. The bad ones are not giving up their guns. Oh, they will be so happy. If the Biden regime gets 4 more years, they are coming for your guns, 100% certain. Crooked Joe has a 40-year record of trying to rip firearms out of the hands of law-abiding citizens. He's always wanted to do that. And you can't do it. You know, we're the party of common sense now. It's like, I call it the party of common sense. We're conservative and all of that. But we want borders. We want good elections. We have to have a Second Amendment that's meaningful. If we don't, we're going to have levels of death and destruction like this country has never seen before. We're the party of common sense. As we speak, the Biden administration is trying to crush independent firearms dealers by revoking their licenses if they make a single error, even in very unimportant paperwork. You know that. Are there any people in here that have that happen? Because 5 hands go up. It's sad. No, they want to take away your rights. Well, I know that better than anybody. They want to take away my rights better than anybody. Worse than Alphonse Capone. Al Capone was indicted twice. I got indicted 4 times. I never heard the word. What's an indictment? What's an indictment, please? Think of it, I go years and years. I go through all sorts of stuff in New York. I built buildings with the unions, with all the people that are involved. It's a rough business. I never had a question about me. All of a sudden, within a period of like this little tiny period, I got indicted 4 times, and on a civil basis 4 or 5 times, with it all being run from the White House and the DOJ. And I say, Alphonse Capone, the meanest, roughest, most horrendous. I'm looking at some of the people here, like this gentleman, rough guy. Rough guy, he's a rough stand-up. But you know what? You don't want to have dinner with Al Capone, I can tell you that, right? He wouldn't like you. You look too good. He wouldn't like you. He'd say, let's get rid of that guy. Al Capone, so remember Scarface, right? Scarface. He is a scar that went from here to here, and he was rough. But he got indicted less than I did. Think of this. My father is up in heaven, and my mother. And my father was tough, but he was a good man. He was a good person, so I know he's in heaven. My mother, I guarantee it. My father, I think. Okay. I think. I'm pretty sure. But he was great. He was a great guy, and they're looking down on me right now. They say, can you believe it, darling? My son, he got indicted so much. And I heard they were going to try and do it a couple of more times, and the White House said, don't do it, don't do it. You're indicting this guy into the White House. There's a little truth to that. There's a little truth. But we have the highest poll numbers we've ever had. We have the highest poll numbers we've ever had, and you know, there are those, I don't want to ever say this, you know, I don't know if this is wood or plastic, you can't tell nowadays. I think it's plastic. Is there any wood around? Oh, there's a piece. But we have the best poll numbers we've ever had, and I think a lot of it is the weaponization of justice, or as I call it, the weaponization of injustice, because that's what it is. And they'll use that on these great congressmen that I just introduced, because I have a platform that's a very big platform, and I can tell and talk to the voters, whether it's on television or I can do whatever, I can get it out, and I have done it, and probably a pretty good job. You see this case that's in New York, this fake case with a highly conflicted judge, so conflicted, there's probably no judge maybe in history that's been as conflicted as this guy, and he refuses to recuse himself. But I'm able to talk about things, although I do have a gag order. I can't talk about the things I want to talk about, because what I talk about is just on the surface. Because if I go in, they want to put me in jail. Can you believe? They want to put me in jail if I say the truth. So I can't talk about certain things. It says you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that, you can't talk, but those are the best things. But we talk about the things I can talk about. It has to be unconstitutional. Can you imagine? You've won the Republican nomination for President of the United States, and you have a local judge appointed by Democrat politicians. He was appointed. He didn't win the election. He's appointed. And he says, I'm going to put a gag order on the Republican Party's presidential candidate. Think of that. I'm going to put a gag order. So when people ask me questions, I'll have to say, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. And they're easy questions. They're like softballs. They're so easy to answer. But I'm able to speak to the people, and the people understand, and we're well into the 80s and even more than that, and they see how fake it is. And so many of the politicians, like the ones I just mentioned, and others, many of them that aren't here from all over the country, they go to the trial and they watch what's going on. But we had a big day on Friday, didn't we? Didn't we have a big day? But they want to rig that just like they rigged the presidential election of 2020. They want to rig it. This is their form of rigging, and it only happens in third world countries. Never happened here. It's a disgrace what's going on. But with me in the White House, the radical gun grabbers will run straight into a very, very powerful brick wall. Their dreams of taking away your God-given rights will die when the polls close on November 5th, 2024. Those dreams that they have will be dead. They will be dead dreams. Every promise I made, every single promise I made to you as a candidate, I kept as your president. Look at all the things we did. Taxes, think of it. Biggest tax cut in history, biggest regulation cuts in history, greatest economy in the history of our country. Larry Kudlow was on last night. He was on, I think, Sean Hannity, another great guy. A lot of good people out there. We have a lot of great people that get the word out. But Larry Kudlow was out, and he was comparing our economy to Biden's economy. He says, not even close. I mean, we had the greatest economy ever, and he's got an economy that is so bad with inflation, no matter what happened, you can never override. Inflation is a country buster. It has been for hundreds of years. You go back to Germany of old, it's a country buster, and it's busting our country, and it's destroying our people. Just as I pledged back in 2016, I appointed nearly 300 pro-Constitution judges to interpret the law as written. It's a record, by the way. And I faced down vile attacks from the radical left who confirmed 3 great Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. They're great. Oh, they were thrilled when I got through. You know, a lot of presidents get none because they stay in office. They're usually appointed at a young age. It's interesting. I have a friend in New York. He wanted to be a judge so bad. And when he, great lawyer, actually. When I won, he called me. He said, wow, do you believe it? A big real estate lawyer, phenomenal talent, and 69 years old. He said, unbelievable how you did this. Can I be honest? I'd love to give up my practice. He makes a lot of money. I'd like to give up my practice, and I'd like to run. I'd like to be a judge. I'd be a great judge, and he would be a great judge. And I called my people, and I told him, don't worry about it. You're going to be a judge. Congratulations. Then I called up my people, and I said, I have a guy from New York who's an incredible lawyer. He's got the right temperament. He'd be a really great judge. Oh, good, sir. How old is he? I said, he's 69, sir. So he's going to be there for 2, 3, 4 years. We like people in their 30s, so they're there for 50 years or 40 years. We don't want, and as soon as they said that, I realized, yeah, they're exactly right. So I called up my friend. I said, you're phenomenal. We love you, love you, love you. But will you guarantee that you're going to be there for 25 years? Well, I can't do that. Good. Then I can't appoint you. It's sort of a shame, actually. He would have been great. But, you know, after 3, 4 years, I say, I think I want to move to Texas, and I want to retire in Texas. A lot of people are moving to Texas. Standing before you at the NRA Leadership Forum in 2019, I revoked America's signature from the globalist United Nations Armed Trade Treaty, which was one of the worst things to happen. But we revoked it. I stood up for our hunters, fishers, and sportsmen like never before. No president has ever stood up for you, the people in this room, like I did, opening up millions of acres of federal land and rolling back Barack Hussein Obama's assault on hunting, fishing, and trapping. It was an assault. He didn't want you to hunt. Why? I don't know. They usually blame the environment. It's the environment. And I stopped cold their efforts to take away your ammunition. You know, those efforts are big. The ammunition, has anyone noticed? They're going after the ammunition. When the radical left Democrats tried to use COVID to shut down gun sales during the China virus, I proudly designated gun and ammunition retailers as critical infrastructure so they couldn't touch it. They tried. Many of the gun dealers are in this room. They came up to me backstage, a couple of them I met. I said, I was so honored to be called critical. I was critical. He was critical. I've never been called critical in my life. You gave me this powerful designation. But we did that, and it really worked. Word critical was very important.